Hello everyone, it is your boy Hunt back with another kicking episode of Tabletop Recap. Once again, we are doing kind of our recap of Descent into Avernus, Baldur's Gate, Descent into Avernus, our current Dungeons & Dragons campaign. It is one that you can buy. It's a big official one. It's 1 to 13?
Yep.
Yeah, fun stuff. I know we've been just doing a bunch of Descent into Avernus in a row, but that's because we've just been able to play so much. The next episode probably will not be Descent into Avernus because I actually have to do some housekeeping and I want to talk about like new games coming out and a game that G is getting into. Speaking of G, we have him here with us today.
Hello.
Yeah, he's here. And then we also got Big Boy Chungus.
Don't you ever introduce him before me, you understand?
I am the co-host. He is a guest.
I'm just kidding, I don't care.
How dare you. But yeah, let's, I guess, roll for initiative. Remember, if you get a 1, you gotta dox yourself.
Nat 20!
3.
You didn't even roll.
I did, I rolled.
D6.
And
it was a 1, so give me your address.
you already know my address.
I do not know your address. I know his address by heart. But I do not know yours. I got 18, so.
20. So I'll just start automatically and give me your money right now.
Yeah, so first, who are all the characters? Everybody was able to play today, and that's very rare.
Yeah, this was a super good session. I really hope that for our next session we're able to have the same group, but
yeah,
cross our fingers.
The Legend usually has to work weekends, so it often doesn't. That's why we kind of instituted our 3 people rule. As long as we can get 3 of the players, we'll play, and then we just pretend the other characters aren't there for now. But if they have like an important item in their bag or something, we'll just pretend someone else has it.
Yeah,
rule of 3. Item.
Rule of 3s. So our last session, the players finally made it to Avernus, but they got a brief description of what was around them.
Let's do the characters at the beginning like we need to.
Very good.
The little housekeeping. Who do you play, G?
I play Myastan Balasar, the Dragonborn Paladin.
And he's a level ahead of everybody else because he's your first real character.
I'm a whopping level 6.
Ooh.
That's a real interesting character you got there. It'd be a shame if someone were to off him.
Or corrupt him.
See, the also only big thing is that since my character is the one with the longest been around, I have the most backstory, which means they have the most crap to throw at me, and they will throw it at me.
Well, you're always asking.
Crap, I read Eldritch Blast.
Well, you're always asking. Ask me about my backstory.
I've done that twice. Total.
And then our newest player, Keocat, who plays Guinevere, and she is a Tabaxi druid.
Of the forest.
And she has a tressum called Slobber Chomps, which she stole from an NPC in this game. Very fun stuff. And
then we have D Legend, who is playing the Tabaxi Kensei monk, Jadal Blackline, and he currently owes a debt to a demonic or fiendish patron. Although the patron didn't show his ugly head today because
you forgot.
Well, I forgot, but this was also a short session. I tried to make sure that everyone got an even amount of playtime, and I felt that if including the patron stuff on top of everything that was going on would take up too much time.
Yeah, probably. We had a very limited time to play today. We started at 1 and had to be out by 4.
But we got a lot done. This was a really productive session, I think, despite being short.
And then the last
player
player character would be Corvus, who is Connor the Trading Card Goblin's half-elf warlock to the Raven Queen. And yes, I know what you're thinking. He does, in fact, have Eldritch Blast readied.
He's like the Hulk. I don't have to prepare Eldritch Blast. I always have it prepared.
Why do you always get the first attack? That's my secret, Captain. I readied Eldritch Blast. Always has that Eldritch Blast.
I have to call him on that sometimes because there's some situations where you're caught off guard by an enemy. I ready Eldritch Blast. No, they surprised you.
Yeah, like today he was because D Legend's character got gore all over him, and he was using his ball of splashing from Hollow's End to wash him off. And he was like, I also have Eldritch Blast ready, and we were like, no, you're doing one or the other, man. You either have Eldritch Blast ready or you're giving a cat a bath, which one or the other. But then we also have two kind of NPCs. Rhea Mantlemore, you know more about her than me. So
Yeah, she's the Hell Rider soldier, even though she is a whopping 16 years old, from Elchuel, who is helping the party navigate Elchuel and trying to figure out how to save her city. Her entire life, she learned, has been a lie, thanks to the discovery that the High Overseer has essentially sold all of his people down the River Styx, if you will, and she wants to right the Overseer's wrongs and try and save as many of her people as she can. Then you have Fallister Fisk is no longer with us. He stayed behind at Candlekeep to continue his work, but he has been replaced with Lulu the Holyphant, a happy-go-lucky, cute as all get out, golden-winged mammoth who's about the size of a golden retriever.
she is a precious baby.
And she loves kicking demon and devil butt, and she loves also helping people out just as much.
Party mascot.
Yep, she is the party mascot. Guinevere loves her, Maestan likes her, Corvus likes making her cry.
If you want to hear about how he made her cry, definitely check out the previous episode. But so this episode, they started out in Elchuel, which is in hell currently.
Yeah, and so what I described to them was I read the box text that's required, but then I also went a little bit further. I said your nostrils are filled with the smell of sulfur, brimstone, and just it's carbon dioxide poisoning, basically. It's not actually poisoning them, but it's just that foul. The taste, or the smell is so palpable that you can even feel it on your tongue. You hear cries of anguish, screams of rage and fear, and there are these distinct sounds of a battle going on somewhere. Swords and metal clashing, bones being broken, and war cries raging out. And of course, from our last session, Traxagor got him there. He was the otter wizard who plane shifted them to the plane of Avernus in Elchuel.
He did not stick around, though.
He took one look around and said, "Nope, I'm out." And then he got out of there.
He was gone.
I'm surprised no one bothered to ask, like, you can actually roll an Arcana check to see if you can figure out how he got out of there. But no one bothered because everyone else is like, okay.
It was actually a little while before they even realized he was gone. They were like, wait, where's the otter? Did he leave us? Did he just abandon us here?
So they're in hell for no more than 2 minutes before things start happening. And as they are advancing from their starting location, they see a woman with a longbow across her back, a waist satchel, and 2 male toddlers under each arm, or 1 male toddler under each arm, 2 toddlers total, being chased by 3 bearded devils. And Rhea and Lulu immediately kick into high gear, like, we gotta stop those evil devils. And
I did that too.
well, yeah, everyone pretty much did, but it specifically says in the book that Rhea and Lulu instantly go after the devils regardless of what everyone does.
Teo Cat was like, I want to go help the kids, but I'm so far away. She had to do like 2 dash actions during the combat to get all the way over there.
Yeah.
And then by the time she got over there, Maya Stan and Black Lion or whatever had them beat already.
And this combat was really unique because this is where both players and the DM started using combat tactics that were not just, I cast a spell or make an attack for my turn and then move. Like, there was some creativity. People got to use the environment a little bit. I loved it. So what happened, for starters, is Lulu gets up behind... No, Jadal went first, and he's level 4, so he's a little bit underpowered to be fighting 3 bearded devils at once, and he almost gets into trouble. But then Lulu comes to help him out because she has a flying speed of 120, so she can move anywhere on the battlefield she wants because she's flying. But Holyphants are pretty powerful, even though she's been nerfed because of amnesia.
Even though she's just like a tiny little chicken nugget now.
Yeah, and she has 2 major things that she's able to do right now. The first thing that she can do is she has an aura of invulnerability, which means any spell that is cast at her or any creature within a 10-foot radius of her is immediately immune to all spells that are 5th level or lower. So the only thing that can harm them is things of 6th level or higher. It's pretty overpowered.
Which is why everything they fight is level 10.
Well, it's not that powerful because you have to be within 10 feet. And when you're in combat, 10 feet is not a lot.
Yeah.
And so combat goes back and forth. Myastan, Jadal, Lulu, and Corvus do a pretty good job in the first half. Guinevere, like she said, she had to kind of catch up because she was all the way at the end of the back of the line, and there was a lot of stuff she had to get through first. And she does have some area of effect stuff, but she doesn't have a lot of long-range spells. The closest thing to a ranged spell she has is a Vine Whip or a Thorn Whip, which only can attack creatures up to 10 feet away from her.
Yeah, it's not very...
Or no, up to...
I think it's 30.
Up to 30 feet, but these enemies, at least the ones that she was trying to attack, were just out of her reach. And basically what winds up happening towards the end of the fight is all three of the devils are not targeting the players. They are after the women and children because they're devils. They're evil.
They want those souls, yo.
They want them pure, innocent souls. And this is another situation where, if you remember from our last session, their players will be coming across enemies that are not just trying to kill them or fight them. They have other goals and objectives they're trying to reach. So, yeah, they were going to fight you if you got in their face, but you guys aren't their main priority. And so one of the three bearded devils fought Myastan and Lulu and Jadal head on, while the other two went around and disengaged to avoid opportunity of attacks. And they approached the mother with her two children, who at some point rolled a crit fail on a check and wound up knocking herself unconscious and dropping her two children, who are basically defenseless now.
Yeah.
And so, Myastan, was there anything that was going on with you during this whole fight?
I mean, I was trying to catch up to the kids.
Yeah, so the kids became the priority because the devils were not showing any signs of slowing down. Like, they were just trying to grab and go.
Yeah, one scooped up a kid and was out of there.
Yeah, so but the devil that was fighting on three fronts wound up dying first. But the other two devils actually made it to the unconscious mother's body with the two children. And Guinevere and Myastan managed to catch up to it. But no one was looking at the third devil, and it actually picked up one of the toddlers and tried to bolt. The second devil was taken out by Lulu in a rather creative way that I'm rather proud of.
Yeah, don't do that too often. It'll make it too easy for him.
No, well, Lulu does not have a lot of strength. She just happened to roll really high, and she beat the devil's counter-athletics check. Probably won't happen the same way again. But what happened was because of how big Lulu is and she rolled really high, what Lulu did was she grappled with the second devil, and she decided to use all of her movement speed after succeeding on the competition to fly the devil 120 feet up in the air and then drop it. Which, if for 1d6 for every 10 damage, that's 12 d6s worth of bludgeoning damage. So that bearded devil was now a stain on the cobblestone. But then the third devil, he was catching some flack from the other players once they finally caught up to him, and he took the kid hostage. The first thing that he did was he says, okay, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. You've got the mother and the other kid, I've got the other kid. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, take what you can get, leave me alone, or else the kid gets it. Because he's got this big old glaive, which is a giant spear, pressed to this kid's throat, and he's like, I'm going to kill this kid if you come any closer. And what did you do, Myastan?
So I presented him a trade offer and said, look, I've got this water skin of healing potion. I'll give it to you in exchange for the kid.
And I made you roll a
Deception
check, and then I rolled insight as a competition, and he rolled like a 3 on insight. He freaking sucked. So he said, that sounds like a tempting offer, but I want to test it first. Had he crit failed, I just said, deal. Here's the kid, give me the potion. But
yeah, because he had some additions on that were enough to make him a little suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, he took the cap off, and he moved the child away from the glaive blade, and he had the child situated in the crook of his elbow, so the child wasn't in as much danger as he once was, but he was still in the hostage position. And the devil took one whiff, and he said, this doesn't smell like health potion, what is this? And what happened after that?
So it was at that point...
Remember, he was going to make the kid try it.
Oh, yeah, so the devil decided that he was going to have the kid test the potion instead. So he's trying to take this water skin and force it down the kid's throat. And while he's doing this, I do this. Corvus and my stand take a little action.
Since he was distracted, I charge him at that point to try and knock the kid and wrestle the kid away from him.
And I had you make an athletics check to see how well you either grappled him or tackled him. And of course, I ran athletics to counter it. He rolled a 1. Mm-hmm. He rolled like garbage for that entire encounter. He rolled a 3 on a deception, and then he rolled a 1 on athletics. So basically what wound up happening was he trips, drops the child, and the water skin accidentally falls into his mouth, where he unintentionally downs the whole thing.
And what was in the water skin was a barf potion from the Rick and Morty campaign that I ran through that Hunt over here had us run.
Yeah.
And everyone had forgotten about it except me.
And so I knew it was I knew it wasn't healing potion. I was like, I remember him feeling something in the wineskin, but I couldn't remember what it was.
I thought it was the Gulthias tree sap.
No, I still have that.
But that's also not in the vial. Yeah, that's not in the water skin. So that happened, and I had the guy roll a Constitution saving throw. Because we couldn't find the stats for the potion of barfing. We lost that stuff.
I would have had to go out to my car, get my DM bag, dig through it to find the Rick and Morty module, and then flip through the module to try to find the barf potion. I was like, I'm not doing that, man.
So I just looked at the demon's Constitution modifier, and I said, screw it. I have an appropriate score that he has to beat. If he doesn't beat it, he's fine. If he doesn't beat it, he throws up continuously. If he succeeds, he succeeds. And he rolled like a 5.
Oh my gosh.
So he proceeds to get up and just, what was it? And he just, like, you ever seen that episode of Family Guy where everyone drinks Ipecac?
Yeah.
It's like that. It's just, and eventually between the vomiting, and then Connor shoots a couple Eldritch blasts at him in the head.
Yeah, Connor's like, I want to execute him.
I want to execute it with Eldritch Blast.
I want to put my hand in the back of his head and execute it.
And I'm like, making an attack roll. He says, I'm not making an attack roll. He's incapacitated. I'm like, but you're making an attack and he's not unconscious.
It's like, wait, you mean I have to roll to attack?
And he said, yes.
It's like, dude, you've been playing for like a year, man. You know you gotta roll to attack.
And so, yeah, I made him
love
roll.
the guy, but that was weird.
And he actually did hit him. I don't know why I was so worried. His spell modifier is like a +8.
Yeah, he's very strong.
He literally has to roll like a 2 to fail anything.
Yeah.
As far as a spell goes. But he incapacitates the devil, who's now like laying in a pool of his own vomit. Not dead, just really uncomfortable and really out of it. And so the woman is saved and the children saved. Combat ends, and basically she reveals to them the following information: that the citizens that have come to El Chuel, many have died on the way down to hell, and many more have died due to rampaging demons and devils in the city. She says that
like the whole city's falling apart.
Yeah, there's only half the city left, and whatever's left, the citizens have been exposed to hell. Which, when you put a bunch of commoners in that situation, it's like ground meat.
Which, this is like berserk levels of hell, so like people are getting slaughtered everywhere.
And so then she tells them that we've managed to stay alive this long because we were hiding out in a tavern cellar, eating and living off of the food and beverage reserves, fresh water and wine, but we ran out because we've been down here for like a month now. So we had to venture out and find more food, or else we would have starved to death. So that's, me and my boys left the tavern and we ventured out, but we got caught right away and we had to flee, and that's when you guys showed up. She also tells them that the city's been split into 2 parts. So whereas half the city now remains, a quarter of each half, so 1/4 of the city is on the east side, 1/4 on the west side.
When you described that, D-Legend and I both in unison went, East Side!
Now the city is not completely separated. There are 2 bridges, one of which is named Torm's Blade, and the other one's name is Torm's Reach.
The big Chungus Memorial Bridge.
Yeah, and these bridges, which are named after the god Torm, are still holding the city together, like a frayed rope. She also tells them that the safest place to probably be is the High Hall Citadel, or church, where that's like where all the overseers and the military men, congregate, and it's probably the most well defended. So we should get there and wait while Fabius Krieg comes up with a plan to save us. And that made for awkward conversation.
So he's currently in the sewer with his head cleaved in two.
Well, if you'll notice, Rhea did not tell them the whole truth. She kind of made it seem like Ravengard didn't betray them, but forsook them.
I'd say it's a whole truth because there's a hole in his head. Ooh.
Yeah. Rhea did not want to bust the entire truth on them like it had on her. She will tell them eventually, but she doesn't want to cause panic. Like, yeah, the guy you worship is a traitor, and he sent you here. Because one, she probably wouldn't believe him at first, and then it would go into shock. So she tells them this information, and everyone proceeds towards the church. At this point, in between reaching key locations, there are some encounters that take place. The first one that occurs is the players notice some rather sneaky figures wearing what looks to be black clothing ducking into an abandoned house. And remind me, Maya Stan, because you guys argued a little bit about whether or not you were going to even interact with these people.
Well,
what happened?
So I'm taking control. I'm just kidding. You can get to what you did, but I want to talk about what Connor did first. He sent his imp to investigate, and then he had the Raven circle it, not sure why. But the imp, he had turn invisible and go inside, and he saw 4 undeads eating a bunch of people on a table. And he wanted to go in and stop them because he worships the Raven Queen, and she demands that he destroy all undead he finds. And then you said...
I said that, look, because I didn't know what... Because, you said undead, but we were also told that they were shadowy figures. I'm I don't know clearly what these are. I'm look, there's nothing we can do to help those people now because, they're already dead. Avoiding the conflict, look, we don't want to draw any unnecessary attention, attention of any more demons. So I said basically, look, there's nothing we can do for them now. We should just go and pass by.
And then Rhea Mantlemorn said, no, I try not to interject the NPCs too much, but I also want to make sure that they're playing to their character type. And Rhea is the kind of person who, one, if there's anyone in need, she will immediately rush to their aid. But if there's ever a threat that could potentially harm other people, she wants to try and neutralize as best she can. So her argument was that, yes, Maya Stan wants to avoid this confrontation to avoid any unnecessary collateral damage. But if we leave these flesh-eating beings to their own devices, there may be more families than just the one that they're eating that could die. So we stop the threat now, we save more people. And you bought into that. And so Connor kind of takes over and lays out this whole plan of ambush attack where he's going to set up at the back door, because the way this building looks is that it's a 3-story house, but the 3rd story has been completely demolished. There is an access from the 3rd story to the 2nd story, and then the 2nd story has a bunch of holes leading to the rooms on the 1st floor, one of which is the kitchen, where all of these undead creatures are currently feasting. But so he sets himself up with his imp at the back door, where he is going to cast Shatter on the table, which will hopefully damage as many of the creatures, who are ghasts, by the way, as possible. Jadal and Quinevere will then go up to the top of the house using their climbing speed, so they didn't have to make any rolls, and then ambush them from the top down. And then once Shatter would be cast, Jadal and Quinevere would jump from the top, and Maya Stan would attack from the front door, whole SWAT maneuver, like FBI, open up! And this pretty much goes off without a hitch. Everyone succeeds on their stealth check and their sneak attacks. Connor rolled for Shatter, and all but one of the ghasts failed their saving throw. Just to clarify, Rhea and Lulu are currently helping the family that they just saved take cover outside the house to prevent any collateral damage affecting them. So right now it's just the party in there. And they successfully defeat the ghasts, although Jadal, D. Legend's character, did roll a crit fail on his sneak attack, and he wound up falling in the middle of the table amongst gore.
Yeah, today I think he rolled the most nat 20s out of anyone and the most crit fails out of anyone.
Oh, it was funny. But they do successfully defeat all the ghasts with very little to no damage. But after they after they finish, they hear a little crying noise coming from one of the cabinets in the kitchen, which I'm really glad that Shatter has a smaller radius than it probably should, because had Connor cast it and it had a larger radius, this would have really messed up or made a bad situation worse. But so after investigating the cupboard, they discover that there's a little girl about the age of 7 or 8 years old hiding in the cupboard. She's got like blood splatters all over her face and her dress, which is all torn. And basically, it's safe to assume that this little girl was one of the residents of the household and was literally watching her family get eaten by undead creatures.
And you and I DM together. I'm like an assistant basically. I look up spells for people and I just give you some creative ideas and I take care of the map and everything and the minis. But see, because you explained that she was hiding in there to me when we prepped for this session, and I misremembered it, and I thought she was like under a table against the wall in that room. So when he cast Shatter, I thought she was just torn apart. But then she was in the cupboard, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the book actually even says that she is specifically in the cupboard watching the guests do their deed through a crack in the cupboard. So she was not under the table, thankfully. But Maya Stan was the person to open the cupboard, and because you were the first person who was nice to her, not that anyone was mean to her, you're just the first person to have the chance to be nice, she latched onto you.
Yeah.
You want to talk about how that happened?
I tried to comfort her, but then for some reason Chungus made it seem oddly ominous that she was holding on to me and not letting go.
How was that ominous?
I didn't think it was ominous.
You're just like, and as she's holding on to you, she just buries her face in your neck and she's holding on tighter and doesn't seem to want to let go. I'm like,
it's not ominous.
To me, that seemed ominous because
if you were an 8-year-old child and you just witnessed your family getting devoured,
I wouldn't cling to the reptile who just opened the cupboards.
Well, what if she's just not racist? Think about that.
Yeah, you assume that everyone hates Dragonborn. No one hates you. And this is
that's your thing. That's something you need to work on.
It's a rare species that people aren't like familiar with all that often.
Rare, but not unknown. People don't see Dragonborn walking up the street every single day. But people know they exist. People know that most Dragonborn are not serial killers or aliens. They just don't see you that often.
Okay. Are they ugly as sin? Yes. Did they deserve to be executed? Who knows? But
let's just say for the sake of argument that this girl and her family know what Dragonborn are, and they know that they are just as evil or good-natured as any other humanoid species.
Anywho, I had a suspicion that she might have been something else, so I just simply wanted to roll perception as to see if I could tell anything. And I rolled a 1. Which involved me throwing the child to the ground. Well, not throwing her, but just like in my attempt to get her off of me, she kind of fell to the ground.
Well, basically what you were trying to do is you were holding her, and you wanted to get a good look at her to make sure that she wasn't some necro child trying to eat your neck out.
Like, you ever seen Legion? That stuff.
But what you wound up doing is she's holding your neck so tightly that you're having to like force her off of you a little bit to get a look, and on your crit fail you just pushed her off of you, and that really like made her unsettled. Like all she wanted was positive physical contact from a non-threatening being, and you just rejected her.
Well, I made up for it because then I tried to calm her down again, and then I didn't pick her up, but I gave her my hand if she wanted to take it.
And she took it, but she didn't stop crying, and she was very hesitant on you.
Yeah, eventually Keokat stole that kid from you.
Yeah, she clung to Guinevere more than me.
It's because she saw the sweet cat lady, and she thought that maybe you're friendly.
Until it turned her into a monster.
Twice. So the next part of the story, they get to Baldur's Blade, the bridge, child and family in tow. And I won't go into all the details because this probably took a little bit longer than it needed to anyways, but on Torm's Bridge, there are various runes dedicated to the god Torm. And anyone who either makes a high enough religion check or is a worshiper of Torm can know that these runes are a failsafe trap for if anyone manages to besiege the city and get that far.
And we had to get that information from the group cat for some reason.
Because no one was asking, like Rhea said that, I have a plan, but I need you guys to distract them. She said that I think I can do something with the runes to get rid of the demons, but no one was wanting to capitalize on it. Like Connor wanted to send his imp in to distract them and have them run off, Maestan just wanted to fight him. And so basically I realized at this point that I was kind of neglecting Keocat a little bit. So I started giving her more options, and
You just asked her what she wanted to do about the bridge, what her plan was, and she was like, I want to talk to my kitty.
Yeah, the first thing that I did was I said that Slobberchops is hissing a lot right now, like he's really on edge. And then I said, Guinevere, do you want to do anything in the situation? She says, I want to talk to my cat. I said, okay, you'll have to cast Speak with Animal, but you don't have to roll anything for that, and it'll happen automatically once you do it. She says, yeah, I want to do that.
She was happy to do that. Like, she kept texting me, like, are there plants around? Are there plants? Because she wanted to use her new Talk to Plants spell.
Well, if she'd asked me, I would have described it to her.
And she's very nervous, so she'll, like, ask me things on chat instead of asking on the thing.
I've been trying to encourage the players, and there's nothing against this. I totally understand.
She's just new and anxious.
Yeah. And but when characters ask questions about the environment, like Jadal and D-Legend was asking, like, what does my environment look like? Is there anything I can do with the walls and everything?
He's good about that.
Yeah, and I started going into enough detail with his passive perception, and I said, if you want more information about that, you have to roll a perception check, and, you know, he got really good at that. But Guinevere, I really hope that I do a good enough job that she feels more comfortable to ask me questions out loud. But this was a good thing that she did, and she talked to Slobberchops. And Slobberchops, the voice that I have for him whenever she talks to him, he sounds like St. Cloud from the Venture Bros.
Yeah.
Yes, I am a fat cat from a wealthy family. Feed me victuals, please. So she asked him, he says, can you see anything about the bridge?
Because he has advantage on perception.
He does, and he also has invisible sight. Now, there wasn't anything invisible about this bridge, but because of his perception, he said, those runes smell awfully funny. They have a magical odor about them. Yes. And so she relays this information, and Rhea asks, you can see the magical aura too? And Guinevere's like, I suppose so, if my cat can see them. And so basically the plan of attack at this point turns into, okay, half the party is going to charge the devils, because it was assessed that the runes would only affect fiends who were in the light, not humans or anything good aligned.
Yeah, I think it was fiends and undead, but I don't... Is Konar good aligned?
He's neutral good.
Okay, I thought he was lawfully evil.
I thought it was chaotic.
No, you're thinking of Tywin Duchamp, my character in Karen's campaign.
Oh yeah, the Lost campaign.
Yeah, it's lost because I derailed it. Like, we were on the beaten path, and then I derailed us.
Yeah, we still have a session of that we need to do an episode on.
But I thought he's been, like, chaotic neutral, because, like, he's been going around saying, like, he wants to execute things, and I'm like...
Technically killing...
I mean, yeah, they're demons, but...
Technically, outright killing anything that is evil is not seen as an evil act. Now, if he was...
Well, there's a difference between killing and then saying you're going to execute someone.
I mean...
Like, if I attack and kill someone in self-defense, that's a difference between getting them on their knees, putting a gun to the back of their head, and blowing their brains out.
Well, if it was any other creature, I would have questions about it. But the problem is that...
Yeah, they're demons, sure.
Whenever I think, okay, the way I gauge moral dilemmas is if a god of a good or evil alignment would have a problem with this, it is a potential alignment changing action. But Bahamut wouldn't have a problem if you started executing devils.
No.
Torm wouldn't have a problem if you started executing devils. So I do not see Corvus's character executing devils as evil. It's just, I mean, it's not maybe the best decision, but I mean, who cares? You can go murder hobo on these guys all you want, because most of the time these guys are so powerful you can't go murder hobo on them. But anyways, I digress. So half the party decides that they're going to activate the runes, while the rest of the party is going to charge the devils and attack them on the bridge, try and keep them in one spot. And this is a success. All of the weaker devils that are on the bridge are instantly incinerated, and the other devils are trying to run and are quickly shot in the back by Jadal and Corvus, who executed the last one again. And then, so they're now across to the east side of Elchuel, And they have another encounter where...
Wasn't there there's the candy first? Let's talk about the candy.
Oh, yes. This was Guinevere's roleplay with the child. So after Jadal pushed the child away, after Mystand pushed the child away, the child kind of warmed up to Guinevere because she's wearing very bright colors. She actually looks like a lynx, which has brighter colors, more friendly in a face.
And she had candy. She offered to get candy.
Yeah, so the child walks up to Guinevere and she tugs on her coat and she's like trying to hide behind her cloak. And she's just, will you protect me from the monsters? I can't do a very good kid's voice with my deep voice.
Will you protect me from the monsters?
Well, that just sounds like, sounds like a... Don't ever do that again.
That's his kid's voice, which scares me.
Anyways, so, where was I? Guinevere picks up the child and she says, yes, I'll protect you. And she picks her up in her arms and she starts, like, talking to her. And she wants to cheer the child up because she's still got tears running down her face. She says,
because she cut her candy apple in half earlier to give to the other two kids. And then this kid, she's like, you want some candy? And she has gumdrops from Hollow's End, which all have a magical effect. And
so here's the thing about the candy. The first 4 effects, instantly, it causes an illusionary effect which turns your body into one of 4 monster types. Kobold, Orc, Duergar, no, not Duergar. Goblin, and...
Kobold, Orc, Goblin, and Grung.
Oh, yeah.
Green Goblin, Grimy Grung, Kobold, Kiwi, and Orcish Orange.
Yeah, and so the child who just thinks this is regular candy eats it, and she immediately turns into a kobold.
Yeah, and this is rolling on a random effects table for these gumdrops. And she starts freaking because she's a monster, and then Guinevere's like, no, you're like him now. And she points at Mystand over here who's posing all heroically and stuff.
I strike a pose.
And the child didn't feel that you were a superhero or anything, but she thought you were funny in your little pose, and she started laughing. And she laughed a little bit more when she saw that her finger and hand was all scaly and had a little claw on it.
Yeah, but it wore off after 10 minutes, and then she gave the kid another candy, and she was like, did they all turn me into monsters? She was like, no, and then she took it and she turned into an orc.
A little tyke-sized orc.
And so she was like, you lied to me?
But she was kind of more... She was kind of more comfortable with this because Kyokat was like playing with the puppet and everything that she got earlier. And so she was like, do I look scary? And she says, yeah, you look terrifying. And the kid goes, rawr! And she does like a scary face and all that stuff. I thought it was pretty good roleplay on Guinevere's part. I just do not have a childlike voice.
Yeah, but there was another fun little encounter after the bridge.
Oh, yeah. So Guinevere is holding the child now. The little girl does not want to let her go. And Rhea and Jadal are working with the family to try and make sure they're keeping up because the boys are like 3 years old each. But Lulu decides to scout out because there's like a little fork in the road or an intersection. And so she flies ahead and she kind of takes a quick look around a corner, but then she immediately books it back to the party and she's like, hide now, hide, in this whisper-like yell. And I make everyone immediately has to make a stealth check.
Everyone did pretty well. The player characters, anyways.
Yeah, the only person who didn't make a successful stealth check was one of the male toddlers of Harkina, the female mother. I would hope she's female if she's a mother. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. But Lulu made a 20, so she basically wound up saving the boy before he got into real trouble. And after everyone successfully hides, you hear clip-clop, clip-clop, clip-clop of sounds like metallic horse hooves on cobblestone. And as this being comes around a corner, it looks like a paladin wearing black wrought iron armor, covered in flames, riding a horse with a rein made of chain links, spiked black armor with fire coming from its hooves, its nose, and its mane. And I described to them that this is a Narzugon, a evil paladin birthed from hell. And which I was making checks on the Narzugon, and he made just shy of what I made the perception checks to be for him to spot everyone. Everyone got so lucky because this is like The only other time that I think you guys would have had an encounter with a NPC or enemy that was too high power was when you guys fought the Abishai.
And that was too high on purpose. He wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The party could potentially fight this guy and beat him, but someone was going to die.
It would take everything they had.
Yeah, this would have been
And I think at that point, Connor was out of spell slots also.
Yeah, so Connor was handicapped, and the players had already experienced a little bit of damage. But the Narzugon failed, I should say, in passing everyone by. And then once he was gone, everyone was like, okay, let's keep going quietly now. And then they made their way to the High Hall. And this is where we started reaching the end of the session, because as they approached the gate, one side of the cathedral has completely crumbled and caved in, but the other towers and the main tower, which is higher than anything else in this castle, is still standing like a defiant obelisk, as I described it. But as they approach the main archway into the courtyard, there are two human guards lying dead on each side of the archway, with blood still gushing from what look like recent wounds caused by bite marks. The characters don't have much time to interact with the situation. This was the first time where I put a time constraint on what everyone was going to do, because as these monsters come into the courtyard into view, they are hellhounds, which have been feasting on the dead bodies of the soldiers who were killed by whatever forces may have come through the castle. And I said, okay, the hellhounds don't notice you yet, but you're out in the open, so you have 30 seconds to decide what everyone's going to do. And so, Maestan, what did you decide to do in your 30 seconds?
I just started to charge him.
You charged him. Jadal wanted to do the same, but with a ranged attack, which he rolled a crit fail on. Then Corvus agreed to back you guys up, and so did Lulu. And I asked Guinevere what she wanted to do, and she said, I'm going to go take the kids, and I'm going to go try and hide them. And I said...
She didn't say this on the voice chat, but she did in the regular chat. She said that she was doing that because of her character's fear of wolves. She didn't want to fight the hell
I was hoping that was the reason why.
Yeah. Plus she had both hands taken up by a kid. So.
Yeah, she wouldn't be able to fight. So that was a real smart move on her. So she, the little girl she's carrying, the mother with her two toddler sons, and Rhea agreed to go with them because she wanted to help keep people safe. And so they went and found a successful debris pile to hide around, and everyone else successfully beat the hellhounds. And so now they successfully then came out of... Oh yeah, Guinevere was doing something with the child, because the child started crying again with the scary dogs on the loose, and just because of the tension in the air. And so she brought out Mortlock's troll doll that she got from his bedroom back in Baldur's Gate. And she's like telling a story about her homeland and trying to cheer the child up, and then she like rolled a 3 on her performance.
Yeah, didn't work.
So the child didn't... A crit fail would have the child bawling and would have attracted more monsters, but it wasn't a crit fail, so I just said, yeah, the child starts crying, and you just kind of hope that it doesn't attract anything. But the hellhounds were dealt with pretty swiftly, and then once they were dead, everyone congregated back into the destroyed but still traversable courtyard, and our next session will begin with them entering the Cathedral of High Hall.
Yeah, that should be fun. That should be a lot of combat that session, I think.
There will be, but there will also be some good roleplay moments. It's going to be very balanced, I think.
Nice. So I want to ask you, G, because we usually don't have the players on here. From a player's perspective, how is the campaign as a whole going?
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been a roller coaster, certainly, but I've made sure that I'm doing the best I can, so I've enjoyed it.
And I've been hearing through the message, like I spoke to D-Legend, he really likes it. He was a little nervous about D&D because he's got a couple of other social groups that he does gaming and martial arts stuff with. So he wasn't sure if he'd have a lot of time for D&D and get really invested into it. But since he started a few months ago, he's really gotten into it.
Yeah, he has. Even though he doesn't have a lot of time to play, which is sad, but...
We totally understand, because he has other obligations, work and home stuff, and then of course he's got other friends, which if any DM who makes a player choose between them and other friends, it's a really bad move. So,
and let's face it, they gotta be cooler than us, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but...
like, they gotta be.
But I'm not going to put him in a spot where it's either you play D&D or you don't, or you don't play with us at all. Like,
Get out of here.
That's rude and very uncourteous. But I've heard some things from Guinevere. She's still learning, but that's totally understandable. This is, what, her fourth session?
I don't know.
She's still very new. But she is learning.
She's the newest one, but she's played more sessions than D-Legend.
But I honestly love Guinevere's character, Keokat's character, because she brings such positive energy in a place that doesn't have much positivity.
Yeah.
You've got the stoic knight, myself, and then you've got Corvus constantly at each other's throats because we don't like how each other handles things. And then you just have Keokat who's just like, I want to play with the children.
I want to wear dresses and play with dolls, which is what
I want to talk to the plants and animals because people are depressing. And then there's Jadal, or D-Legend's characters, who just can't seem to stop dying.
He's been very good recently. He hasn't died so far.
His patron didn't show up today, but that's only because I had a mark that I wanted us to meet before the session ended and everyone had to go. But trust me, he's going to show up the next time he's in session. And I've already got some shenanigans planned for his patron to ask of him should he get into trouble. But yeah, I think as a DM the session's going well. Everyone's learning, including myself, and I think each session is better than the last.
I haven't learned jack. I'm just kidding.
You already know everything.
You're like a teacher here. You're the veteran D&D player here.
Yeah, when people ask me what I do with the group, because I'm not the main DM and I don't have a character right now, they're always like, what do you do then? And I was like telling my friend Alex, who's in like 5 TTRPG gaming groups, I was like, I'm basically the coach. Because I've been playing for 11 years. Everybody else been playing for like 1 or 2. So I'm the coach.
We're all waiting for Clarence to show up.
Clarence Spellshell.
Oh, we
He's
actually,
like half your level
when
now.
we finish
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate, I actually have a one-off that I've been talking to Hunt about that Clarence may or may not appear in.
Ooh.
Clarence Spellshell.
The Paleo Druid.
The Paleo Druid. Gotta love it.
But yeah, that's our session. Looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, me too. So that is it for today's episode of Tabletop Recap. Next time I'm going to try not to do a D&D one, but you never know. I really want to have G talk about some Warhammer next time. We don't really have time today. We're already almost at the 50-minute mark. But thank you all very much for your support. If you want to support the show, we have a Patreon, Twitter, eBay with gaming stuff and merch. We have a Facebook page for our podcasts as well. All of that can be found in the links in the description below, as well as a Facebook page where we do lots of unboxings for gaming stuff as well. So that's it. Thank you all once again for your support, and I'll see you all next time.